Hello, everyone. Campbell Woods here with Marist College Rowing. Wanted to bring everybody a quick recap of the IRA and kind of a wrap up for the season for the spring of 2024 and our 2024 campaign. And then we're going to talk real quick about what's happening at the program and what our next steps are over the summer and coming into next year. So I first wanted to give an extra special thank you to all the different people who have helped out the program this year in one way or another. Probably first and foremost is my assistant coach Josh, who does a ton of work, well above and beyond what he gets paid, and he's super passionate about the sport, cares deeply about what happens with our athletes, and it is really an important role player in what happens at the boathouse. And so appreciate everything he does for us and everything he did this year. Also, Tom and his crew of women's coaches, we've had a great working relationship with them this year. We have a whole bunch of administrators who work with us on campus. In particular, the athletics director, Tim, Liz, our administrator and compliance coordinator, her helper, Mike, KG, who's been jumping in and helping out a lot with compliance this year. Also, Zach Harkenreiter, who's our new assistant AD for business operations, does a lot of work with us in keeping our operations going throughout the season. So Darren, who helps take care of our facilities, Coach Suma, our lifting coach, Denise, who was our trainer this year, and the whole training staff. So there's a whole group of people, Alyssa Gates in our academics office and her team who work with us, Jalen Barger, who was our team point in her office this year. So there's this whole group of administrators that work with the team up in the McCann Center and keep all the different facets of our team going. And so thank you to all of you who worked with us. Special thank you to Bob Missert, our alumni coordinator, and then his group of leaders. I don't want to name them all because I don't know 100% who's in that group, but I know that they work very hard and have a pretty consistent group of conversations with each other about how they can help move Marist forward. I also want to mention Pete Tartaglia, who did a lot of work closely with Bob in maintaining and continuing to build our website, rowmarist.com. Pete does a lot of work in the background, and so thank you, Pete, for everything that you do. So it's I'm sure I'm missing someone. And whoever I missed, we appreciate everyone. And to all the alumni and families who gave both in our Giving Day and just our overall Give Campus giving campaign this year, and our various scholarship campaigns and so forth. Please, thank you so much for everything that you do to the team. Makes a big difference to what we do here, and it enables us to continue to improve the product that we're giving our athletes from one year to the next and keep this place competitive and providing a formative experience for young student athletes. So I appreciate all the passion and the outpouring of generosity from that group, and I know it means a lot to the team and our athletes. On to the IRA. We went into the IRA training. We had 4 athletes who stayed on campus, and then another 2 spare oarsmen and coxswain. who I kind of dove into in depth in the last video, but I'll give you their names. Gavin Crouch, a senior, was in stroke seat. Nolan Libby was in 3. Tristan Wistuba was in 2 seat, and Oxel and Durag Durwood was in bow seat. And then we had Tessa Kurtzman as our coxswain, and our spare oarsmen were Peter Martinich on port side and James Hodge Andreas on starboard side. It was a great group. We had a lot of fun. We trained a lot. We had a whole bunch of different field trips. So want to thank Kingston Rowing Club, who had us up there 3 or 4 times over the course of the training period. We have developed a great relationship with them, and on the days that we get a big north or a big south wind on the Hudson River, we're able to sneak up there, launch off their docks. So thank you, Kingston, for your generosity. Beautiful little spot up there on the Rondout Creek for rowing. And we recommend, if you're looking for a cool small regatta this fall, they've got a head race up there, the Rondout River Regatta, I think they call it. And then also thank you to the Cortland Rowing Club. We went down to Cortland Manor and rowed on Lake Meahog for a morning, which was fantastic. We had perfect water. It was nice to not have any current. And then we also did the same thing at the Rockland County Rowing Club. And that was a phenomenal facility, 10 lane across, fully laned, fully buoyed race course on Rockland Lake. And so that was a great day, and we really enjoyed coming out and training there. And on that day, we were actually able to get very, very similar conditions that we ended up seeing at the IRA. So that was a very helpful training day. So thank you, Rockland, for putting us up for a day. So they trained really hard during the training period, really working to just fix technical issues and get the boat, moving in the right way. The 2 spare oarsmen did a lot of work sculling. Peter in particular had not rowed a single at all until the training period, and by the end of IRA training was able to scull proficiently and was able to take out a single for like a full steady state workout on his own. And so that was pretty cool to see that development happening. James had already been sculling in high school, but he continued to improve his craft and was doing a lot of speed work in the single, and then also helping out Peter both in the single and in the double. So that was cool to see. The regatta itself was one of the nicest weather-wise that I have been to. The temperature was very moderate in the 70s all 3 days. The first 2 days we had a cross tailwind, about maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour. Kind of little puffs of crosswind would come across, but the water was really very flat and very rowable. The last day, the day of the 8s finals, was actually totally flat. So it was overall very good for rowing. We had a great opportunity to row in those exact conditions here at home in the lead up to the event, and the temperature being cooler in comparison to a normal year was really nice. I know the athletes who were there, most of them had not experienced an IRA before, but Gavin and Oxel, who had seen the way of the world a little bit more, and had been to the IRA in 2022 when it was extremely hot, those guys were very appreciative of the better temperatures. So there were 3 races. We had a time trial to start with. There were 35 crews in the time trial, and we placed 28th. Not what we wanted to do. The goal was to get into the top 18, or that's what we wanted to try and do. We felt like the athletes, they felt like they had an okay piece, but I think that we could have pushed differently in different areas and just executed the piece a little bit better. So, something for us to work on. I think traditionally our group, our team has struggled in that 2K time trial format. I think we don't see it super often, and it is hard or different to push yourself when you're alone like that on a race course. So I think an area for us to improve on. Kind of came off that result that placed us in the bottom group of finals or semifinals, the DEF semifinals, to decide whether we were going to be the D, the E, or the F final for the weekend. So a lot of the conversation before going into that semifinal was, how do we just really go after that race, and rather than sit back and wait and see what other crews are going to do, we be the ones being the aggressor in that race, and rather than chasing, trying to be the crew that was out in front. And so, and that's what we did. Kudos to the crew. They went out really aggressively. We knew we had a pretty strong start. Based on what we'd seen in training, they executed the start really well. And I think, but perhaps surprisingly to them, not so much surprisingly to me, they were ahead by almost a boat length after the first 20 strokes of the piece, their first 20, 25, 30 strokes. They were maybe 3 seats up on the crew from LaSalle, who were in there, and a full boat length up on everybody else. And I think after they jumped out like that, all of a sudden when they lengthened out, they were able to get really long and row really smoothly and really aggressively, and not be tight, and it allowed them to manage the piece really well. Basically, Marist and LaSalle jumped out really early in that race. We had, so I'll give you the rundown a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself, but LaSalle, Oklahoma City, Williams, Trinity, and RIT were all in our race with us. Marist and LaSalle jumped out together and really were kind of battling throughout the piece. Oklahoma City fell behind Marist, but kind of kept up with LaSalle. They were deck to deck with LaSalle for most of the piece, their bow deck on LaSalle's stern deck. And over the course of the piece, Marist made a couple moves to get ahead and kind of stayed ahead throughout the race piece. As we came into the finale, Oklahoma City made a really big push to try to get up with LaSalle and get into the top, the top 2 to put them in the D final. And that brought LaSalle with them, and both of them pushed further and further up into Marist's lead. The Marist guys did sprint. It wasn't the best sprint, but they held off both boats. It was a hard-fought race. Marist ended up winning by just a couple points of a second over LaSalle, and then LaSalle a couple points of a second over Oklahoma City. So those 3 crews were really, really close. And then Williams and Trinity and RIT were trailing. And so that was a great race. That put Marist in the D final. And in that final, we faced Stanford, LaSalle, Cornell, Adrian, and Northeastern. And I think the final probably, it did not go, it was not as well executed for us, for Marist, as the semifinal was. I think we got off to another good start, and unlike the semifinal, everybody in the race was really gunning it in the early going. And so Marist with our strong start, was able to be in the race. We were not losing any speed, but we didn't get that kind of early jump out in front of everyone that we did in the previous race. And then I think as the next 500 meters, the second 500 meters wore on, I think the Marist guys got a little bit tight, weren't rowing as smoothly together. We talked about after the race, I think a lot of guys' heads were out of the boat a little bit, kind of worrying about the margin, and I think some of that is youth and immaturity in our crew, and some of that is just training. We need to do a better job of not having our heads out of the boat, and the athletes, I think, just got a little bit jumbled. We weren't rowing as efficiently as we could, and too many guys trying to be a hero and do all the work themselves in their own way instead of contributing to the bigger rhythm of the crew. So we ended up, Stanford and LaSalle took off, Cornell pushed with them, Adrian was kind of a distant fourth behind them, and then Marist and Northeastern got into a little battle for the fifth place spot, which Northeastern ultimately won by a couple points of a second. So Marist was at the finish kind of in the race with Northeastern, but everyone else had kind of sailed away to a firmer position. So, I think not the final that we wanted, but I also think that race was probably an accurate indicator of what the team looked like this year and the way that we raced. I think the crew in general was somewhat inconsistent. The speed came in fits and starts, and we were capable of a great race, but often, weren't delivering the best way that we could together. And I think you see that when you look over the course of the regular season as well. So, where does that leave us? The IRA was our last race of this year. The kids are all headed home for the summer. I am really excited, and I know the athletes are really excited about next year. In particular, we are excited about this very large recruiting class that's coming in next year. We have 20 oarsmen and 5 coxswains who are signed to start with us in the fall. That means that our team, having graduated only 3, 2 oarsmen and a coxswain, next year's crew is going to be much bigger. Right out of the gate, we are expecting, in all likelihood, to have 5/8 of athletes in the fall, and probably whittle that group down to around 4/8 of athletes in the spring. And so it's going to be an exciting year. I think the athletes are excited for a number of reasons. One, they've had an opportunity to meet and mingle with most of these recruits over the course of the recruiting process. And so I think just on a personality level, they really liked this group. They really liked working with them, and they're very excited to have them be here and joining the team just from a personality and team culture standpoint. But I also think that there are a lot of big guys in there. There are a lot of fast guys in there. And this class is going to really push the status quo on the team as far as our fitness and the way that we approach racing and practice. And so I think that the current group are excited for that. I know the coaches are excited for that, and we are definitely feeling like having that deeper group is going to create a little bit more pressure on everybody to drive harder and move up the ladder. And so we're looking forward very much to that transformation this fall back into a big crew. Um, so yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement about the year to come. Um, I think, adding on to that, there are a number of changes happening at the university that are very exciting. There, there is a lot of energy in athletics right now as a department, and a lot of great youth and vibrancy in what's happening at Marist. Um, there's a rebranding of the college happening right now, and I think that there's some excitement around that. We are approaching the 100th anniversary of the founding of Marist College, and so within advancement, there's a lot of energy happening around that, and then within our own um, alumni association, engagement with that group is higher than ever, and the activity level from our alumni, both in attending races and events on campus and also donating, is very high. And so I think that group is very excited. And so there just is a lot of excitement and energy happening within our program and within the college. And so I know that the team is feeding on that. We are excited for what the future holds. Um, Looking back at this season, from my perspective as the coach, the performance is definitely well below what we want to see. Um, and I think you'll see historically, um, that the team has had opportunities to do very well with the current status quo, and we want to get back to that point. Obviously, we're eager to make changes and increase our support level and things of that nature. But um, the conversation in the boathouse is we should be faster right now, than we are, and we have work to do to get to that point, and that's the honest truth. Um, there are some reasons and excuses that we can give for why that hasn't happened, and some of those are my fault as the head coach. But I think that the overall mentality is that we're going to move forward. We're going to try to improve our product again this year, and we're going to try to become more accountable to one another and as a group and as a team, to the speed that we need in order to accomplish the goals we want to accomplish. And so I think that's, it's a challenge. I think everybody's excited for that challenge, and we kind of looked at this year, throughout the year as the season went on, that there was again a lot of youth and inexperience on the team, and we were busy setting the stage for what could happen next. And now that future is going to happen now. And so the challenge for the current student athletes, and I know a lot of you will be watching this recap, is that that future can no longer be something that we talk about as being okay next year. That change has to happen now, and that now we are setting the stage for, okay, this is going to be a big year, and we're not going to wait around and keep putting off improvement for another year, another season. So that's certainly my goal for the 2025 campaign. I want to see a very big, very tangible shift in our approach and the way that we race. And I want to see a very tangible approach, or a very tangible change in our performance next spring. I think this fall will be a big adaptation for everybody as we increase in size almost by double. And then, based on that added pressure and added performance and added depth, that we become a really serious fighting machine as we come into the spring season. What's next this summer? Coach Stratton and I will be on the recruiting trail. Coach Stratton already was down at the Scholastic Youth Championships a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I will be down in Florida this week for the U.S. Rowing Youth Nationals, and then we will also have presence at the Independence Day Regatta in Philly. We'll be at the College Fair at the U.S. Rowing Summer Nationals, and also at the Sarasota Summer Youth Rowing Festival. And we'll also be at the recruiting fair at Marietta this summer for the Ohio Valley recruiting, and some additional potential opportunities to meet some athletes at specific programs that we're going to target and visit. So if you are a recruit or you know someone who is interested in being recruited, this is a great time of year to reach out. We'll be visiting with a lot of students on campus this summer, and we'll be working on building our next class, the graduating class of 2025. And so that's a big next step this summer. We'll be looking to get our equipment in line. In particular, we're working on a fleet deal potentially with Vespoli to create a turnover of our fleet of fours, as well as getting 4 new pairs to begin the fall season this fall. And then trying to think of what else is going on here. That's all I got off the top of my head. It's going to be a very busy summer. Thanks again to everyone who supported the team this year. Oh, I also want to mention, this is what I forgot. Lots of people stopped by to visit at the IRA. In particular, I wanted to mention Bob Sneeden and Joe McLaughlin and Jim Cockcroft were all there both days. And so thank you, gentlemen, for being there to represent the alumni. I know the athletes really appreciated you being there to support us. And then also thank you to all the family and friends who stopped by to cheer us on. Makes a big difference. And, it was really cool. After the semifinal, everybody came running down to the trailer and gave the guys a big high five. And it was just a really great, close, fun race to watch. So thank you, everyone who came to support the team. That was really cool. Have a great summer. We will be tuning back in on this YouTube channel in about 2 weeks with an announcement show for our incoming freshman class, and giving you a little bit more detail about them and some of the exciting new talent that we have joining us in the fall. Other than that, we hope you have a great week, and stay cool out there.